Welcome to the Awakening Women podcast. In this episode, I want to touch on a topic that I think is probably one of the most important aspects of the work that I do, and my real mission and driver for why I do what I do is first and foremost for women to be free from conditions and relationships and environments that are harmful to them, that are not good for them, and in turn are not good for any children in the home, because our children can only do as well as we are doing. And I talked about this on a past episode, and I posted about it on Instagram, and it hit a couple of nerves, but my intent with it is more just a bit of a wake-up call. And sometimes wake-up calls sting, and we're forced to have to look at ourselves and our own patterns and our own dysfunctions and things that we have allowed to continue. And sometimes that is not easy to do, especially when we realize maybe we have caused harm to the children by staying in something that was detrimental to them as well as ourselves. That's not easy work to do. That's more advanced work, but really that's my intention with sharing this stuff, is because if you are continuing in patterns and your children are seeing them, I don't have any statistical numbers right now, but they are far more likely to either be the perpetrator of the same treatment, or they will feel that is normal and end up in those kind of relationships later on in life. And so we have to take ownership for our role in allowing the cycle to continue for generations, and we choose that it ends with us. At least we do everything in our power to have it end with us. And there's lots of research on the whole thing around narcissism and abuse and how the two are not always connected. That this is not me, I'm not a psychologist, but it has been said that someone has some narcissism or narcissistic traits, that doesn't mean that they're abusive, and that abuse and narcissism aren't always linked to past trauma. So it can be conditioning or what they saw from the other parent for sure, but doesn't always mean that they would have had some really bad past traumatic experience to become abusive. And so we want to make sure that we are doing our part to say, it ends with me, it stops with me, I'm ending this cycle here. And it might just begin with you making that decision that you are going to do whatever it takes to break these patterns that are happening within your relationship. And so one of those things is looking at how it's coming through your children and how they are speaking the environment. And this is really difficult. When you're in it and you're dealing with one of these destructive relationships, you will very much start to see the effects in your children. How they all deal with it might be different. Some are more loud, some are more outward with it, some are acting out, some are self-harming, some go within themselves, and they're with girls developing an eating disorder or depression or lack of motivation or anxiety, those kinds of things. And one thing that is very common is that children will take their emotions out on the safer, more consistent and reliable parent, which is probably you. Despite that maybe you have behaved in ways that you're not proud of. We're going to get into this in another episode around how do we make sense of times when we have behaved in a destructive way as well, or maybe we parented in ways we're not proud of, and realize that we took our angst and anger and repressed feelings out on the children, even if it's just with irritability, being checked out, maybe being short-fused, or maybe, as some women have said, I feel like I have behaved in ways that would be under that abuse spectrum as well. So how do we make sense of this confusion when we're wondering, am I just as bad as they are? And we're going to get into that in a future episode. It can be really difficult when you're dealing with these difficult dynamics, trying to protect yourself from destructive behavior in your spouse, and then having your children also maybe exhibiting some of the same behaviors, acting out, taking it out on you. And you might be the brunt of all of the anger and sadness because they don't feel safe expressing it to the other person because they're scared of the other parent. And while this is a good sign that they feel safe to come to you, it still puts a lot of stress onto you in addition to what you're already experiencing. And so I have a couple of tips for you if you're like, why are these kids doing this? Why are they refusing to go to school? Do they have all this anger? Why are they acting out and taking their emotions out on me and their anger out on me when I'm the one that's doing everything, right? It can be really difficult to be on the receiving end of that. That doesn't mean that we're perfect, and maybe there are things we need to look at and how we're dealing with things. I've noticed that women can be really weak with boundaries with their kids, so they're not placing proper boundaries in place, like bedtimes and conduct, like behavior in the home, but then they're seeing the father behave in this way, so to them they just think, oh well, whatever, and you're just trying to keep control of the situation, and you're managing it on your own, and you're managing a grown adult's mess as well. And so this can be high stress for you, but just imagine what that's like for the child who is powerless, truly powerless in this situation. They're not able to get themselves out of it. So they start to feel trapped, and they start showing signs through their behavior, through mental illness symptoms, depression, anxiety. There's a long list of things that can start to go on, and I really encourage you and really, looking at it from a place of my child is acting out the environment. So everything that they are doing that is problematic right now, just assume that it's from the environment and that you have a role to play in it. Even though you are the one trying to be protective, you're the one that is trying to do your best, that still might not be good enough in this situation for them. And that is hard to take. It's hard to see where you allowed things that may have caused long-term harm, long-term damage for your children, because where you have been your head has not been in the game. It's been on your partner and trying to control them. And this goes back to where I've said that when you're with a destructive partner, your children feel abandoned by both of you because the destructive partner is not available, right? They're not there to be the parent. You know this if you're dealing with this, that they're not there to do the daily grind of what it is to be a parent and a member of the household. They make more work for you. They're emotionally not there. There's no empathy. There's no real involvement with the kids, hands-on. So they already feel this abandonment from the parent that's not there, even if they may still be in the home. Now they have you that is emotionally checked out. You're not doing well. You're not emotionally present. You're reactive. Maybe you're behaving in destructive ways and you're not in a healthy place yourself. And so maybe you are taking your emotions out you can't express to your spouse as well, and they're coming out sideways onto the kids. And we have to be able to take ownership for that. We are responsible for our behavior no matter what someone else is doing. This is taking self-ownership. This is where the work that I do with women in my coaching programs and one-on-ones is if you're unsure of what to do about your relationship and you don't know if you're as bad as they are, if you are the problem, you're an abuser, you're a narcissist, right? I get all these types of questions in my DMs, like, I'm so confused, I don't know what's going on. Or we've separated because of his anger and he's working on his stuff or whatever. It is fully focusing on your side of the street. Clean up your side of the street. That's the only way you're going to know what the real problem is. And you are going to become a new person in this process. And this new person may or may not align with what is going on right now. Right now, it aligns with you. You're in it. You feel stuck in it. You are still questioning it. You're in ambivalence. You think staying has more benefits than leaving. Likely if that's where you are. So you have to get to a new level to lead your kids out of the mess. They're counting on you. There's no one else coming. And it can get really serious, okay, with kids, with what it does to them. And we have to be the ones to save them. Instead of looking for someone to come and save you and putting the blame and trying to fix this dysfunctional spouse, see your own dysfunction and how that is having a detrimental impact on your children that may last for a very long time. The younger your children are, the more time that you have to influence. And there are aspects to this that you can't change. You can't change who their parent is. You can't change how the other parent is conducting themselves. But you have full power to be the highest version of yourself and the version of the parent you want to be, and you're solid in that vision. And we're going to talk about that in the next episode around how to take that full ownership and conduct yourself in a way that aligns with who you want to be, your core values, your, the things that matter most to you about being the right kind of parent. And you have to do that work. And yes, that's difficult to do when it's easy to say they're doing this, they're causing this, they're that. Okay, so what are you doing about it? Your kids don't give a shit who's causing it. They just want it to stop. And you'll notice this, that they sometimes can get in between it and maybe they'll side with the other parent. And that can be confusing as well. And so you feel like you've got no ground to stand on. You don't know how to conduct yourself as a parent because you're doing nothing but living in reactive mode. Reactive mode, survival mode. That's all you're doing. And so if you're wanting help with this, like how to parent from your core, how to parent from your center, how to parent from your values and who you want to be despite what your spouse is doing and how they're showing up, then I can help you with that. I do have my program and the cycle opening up pretty soon. We're going to be opening up a new round where we will be doing group coaching, and you'll be able to ask all of your questions as you go through my process that helps you get clarity on, can change happen? Is he really a disordered person? Does he have issues that are like a 1 in a million chance that they're going to change? Or am I just dealing with a run-of-the-mill asshole, emotionally immature, someone who maybe has other issues going on, or is it avoidant attachment? Like, all these things that we start to wonder. Maybe it can be changed, maybe not. And then how do you start to actually take your life back despite what is going on while you're getting this clarity? And then making a plan forward regardless of what you decide. This is my specialty. This is the process I've guided women through for the past 6 years. I've taken a little hiatus over the last year in running groups and having it open for enrollment, but I'm tweaking it, improving it, adding to it, making it even better, and we'll be opening it up soon. If you'd like to get on the wait list, then head to leanneoten.com/ETC waitlist, or click the show notes link in this episode.
O'Reilly! You need parts? O'Reilly Auto Parts has parts. Need them fast? We've got fast. No matter what you need, we have thousands of professional parts people doing their part to make sure you have it. Product availability. Just one part that makes O'Reilly stand apart. The professional parts people.
O'Reilly!